Vertical spreads are popular for smaller accounts, and although they are straightforward, they come with some serious limitations. In this video, I'll show you why diagonal spreads might be the better choice for your capital, with less risk, more flexibility, and higher potential returns. Let's start with the limitations of vertical spreads. They are great for theta harvesting, but they're also unforgiving when the underlying stock drops. Let's use the SPY for example. We can set up a credit put spread aiming for a 10 to 20% return on collateral. To do this, let's do about a week out at the January 24th expiration. As we want to be doing a credit put spread, let's switch to the sell and put tabs and search for a short put option around the 0.3 to 0.2 delta. I like this 589 put with the 0.21 delta, so let's use this for our example. We can now switch over to the buy tab and select our width. I like this width of 2 at the 587 strike because that will give us a credit around $32 per contract. Here, we are fronting $200 for $32 worth of premium, with our max loss being $168. And for the sake of comparison and to keep the math easy, selling 20 contracts here be a total of $640 of premium, requiring $4,000 of collateral with a max loss of $33.60. This is straightforward, a $4,000 bet that pays a 16% return as long as the SPY stays above 589. Sounds good, right? But here's the problem. If the SPY drops below 587, which is only a 2% move, you're staring at a max loss. That's scary. Sure, you can roll or close early to manage the position, but even a small pullback can be detrimental. So, how can we keep similar profits while adding more flexibility? That's where diagonal spreads come in. Now, a diagonal spread is similar to a vertical spread, but with one key difference. The expiration dates are staggered. Normally, you set this up with a short option expiring earlier and a long option expiring later. Let's build one out as an example. Back on the option chain, we can remove the credit put spread from our order form. And we can decide what type of diagonal spread we want to build. The credit put spread was a neutral to bullish strategy, and a diagonal call spread would share the same directional bias. You start with buying a call option at a later date. You want to be at least 45 days out. I'll do closer to 80 days with the April 17th expiration. I want this to be a fair comparison, so let's select strikes with the same delta differences as the credit put spread. So for the long call option, we want something around a 0.82 delta, which in this case looks to be like the 560 strike call here. And select that and move on to picking our short call at an earlier date. Let's stick with the January 24th expiration. We want an out of the money call option with a delta around 0.21 to compare to our credit put spread. And in this case, that would be the 605 strike call. We can pull open the P&L chart and notice something interesting here. The max profit and max loss for this diagonal are nearly identical to the credit put spread. But here's the game changer. For the diagonal to hit a max loss, SPY would need to drop all the way down to like $540, which is a 10% decrease. That's a 57-point drop. Compare that to the credit put spread where just a 2% drop resulted in a max loss. Even with the 2% drop, the diagonal will only lose 25% of its value. Thanks to the time baked into the long call, this added flexibility is invaluable, especially in volatile markets. I know this is a lot to digest, or maybe you're already in the comments yelling at me about something I missed, but hang tight, I'll cover more nuances in a moment. In the meantime, if you've learned something, hit that like button, drop a comment about a stock you trade spreads on, or consider subscribing. It's free and it really helps support the channel. Now, while diagonal spreads have their advantages, they aren't perfect. Let's break down some of the pitfalls to keep in mind. First is the break even. It's always going to be higher compared to something like a credit put spread, and that's because it's impacted by the cost of the long option. For example, if your long call costs $4,800, that's a big upfront expense. Sure, the short call you sell reduces that cost basis, but you'll need to stick with the strategy for multiple weeks to see that break even come down meaningfully. So yes, the break even looks higher initially, but remember, this is a multi-week strategy. Over time, you're consistently selling short calls to chip away at that cost basis. Second is the long call's time sensitivity. While the long call is what gives you the flexibility and reduces your risk, we can't ignore time decay. As expiration gets closer, the rate of decay on that long call increases. That's why I chose around an 80-day to expiration long call for this example. It minimizes the immediate impact of theta, but you'll still need to monitor this decay as time goes on because the closer you get to expiration, the more it will eat into your profits. That brings us to the third point, management. Most of your attention will be on the short calls. You'll be rolling them out or selling new ones above your overall cost basis to keep the premium coming in. However, this strategy does require a plan for the long call. Typically, you'll want to close out the entire position once you're around 21 to 30 days left on the long call to avoid theta from becoming too aggressive. I want to leave you with a few final tips on diagonal spreads. First, remember that the max profit is always going to be at the short strike. So if it ever reaches this level or is very close to it, you can close the entire position to lock in your profits and then just consider opening a new one. You should also consider tracking your cost basis externally. It is a crucial tip for managing diagonal spreads. Since this strategy involves selling multiple short calls over time, your cost basis will be constantly changing, and unfortunately, Robinhood does not track this for you. I like to use Google Sheets for this. And lastly, time management is key. Close your positions when there are 21 and 30 days left on the long call. This will prevent theta from eating into your profits. So, there you have it. Diagonal spreads provide a flexible, less risky alternative to vertical spreads with the added benefit of time on your side. If this breakdown helped you, be sure to like the video, leave a comment with your thoughts or questions, and subscribe for more straight to the point option strategies. Thanks for watching. Happy trading.